Hey guys, Budcat7 here. Okay, it is Friday, September 29th, 2023, and I'd like to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research 2 channel. Yes, it's me, Budcat7. Thank all for visiting my channel here. I thank you very much, and I really do appreciate it. And if you're a first-time visitor, please do subscribe, because we talk about some very interesting topics on this channel. And if you're not familiar with my old channel, which I don't have access to, but I plan to remedy that at some point in the future here when I get through with Google. But the Stonewall Research channel, the original one, which more or less covers all the research that I've done on the topics that I'm going to talk about on the Stonewall Research 2 channel. So if you're new, please do go to my other channel, because I'm going to refer to it a lot. And, you know, most of the research that I've done about the topics I do discuss here are covered on that channel, you know, in detail. So please do go to my other channel. Please do subscribe, because I think YouTube is shadow banning that channel. I really do. I've been following it, you know, since I haven't had access to it, and it seems to be dropping in ranks, but it was very high, and it looked like I was getting even more subscribers to the channel, but all of a sudden that all stopped, and it seems to be like it's hard to find in the search results. So if you're new, please do subscribe to my old channel and watch the videos there. I have something like 429 videos on my other channel for the past, you know, 5-6 years of research on the topics I discuss here. And today, in this video, I want to discuss the stone walls of New England. It really isn't New England, it's Northeastern North America. And I know Tim McSweeney on his Facebook page, Waking Up on Turtle Island, which is a fantastic Facebook page, and we'll go to that on this channel a couple of times, because it's just one amazing stone construction after another depicted by so many people up here in the Northeast who are just following this thread of what I believe naturally is that, you know, the claim by, you know, official claim that, you know, colonists and settlers built all the stone walls. Well, I don't believe that, and this video is about who built the stone walls, who I feel built the stone walls based on my research, based on the facts, you know, that I presented on my old channel, my old Stonewall Research channel. So again, please go there and watch those videos. I have some playlists available there of the actual accounts of the unearthing of these giants and the findings of here in North America. Just incredible. Just amazing. But in this video, I'd like to talk about the stone walls and who exactly built them. Now, I believe that they were people before the people who occupied these places here in the Northeast here, which essentially are from what we know from historical times, are the Iroquois people. Any people living in these areas before the Iroquois people are assumed officially to be Algonquin, which are mostly the coastal peoples, and even, you know, more relative to the Pequot peoples as well. But those are considered Algonquin peoples, and the people on Long Island, where I'm at in New York, they also are considered Algonquin people, sort of closer to the other tribes of Algonquin tribes here on the East Coast, you know, going even further south as well. But they were maritime sea peoples mostly, and that's who is assumed occupied these areas before the Iroquois, because the Iroquois people came at a later date. And let's just talk about who the Iroquois people are. And I have a video on my channel, my original channel, Stonewall Research Channel, of a nice lady. She's a Tuscaroran lady who happens to be a professor at Cornell University. And she talks about who the Iroquois people are. I did a video about who I thought the Iroquois people were, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's just hear what she has to say about it in the video on my other channel now. I posted this video, uploaded this video to my channel because I thought it was important and congruent with the research that I've done about who exactly it is that built the stone walls. And again, I just want to make it clear to anybody who's new and thinks this is about the sort of colonist and settler aspect of the stone walls. It's not that. But we don't say that the colonists and settlers didn't build their own stone walls. They did build their own stone walls. Some very fine examples of stone wall building for the colonial period and settler period. But they're more precise in their construction, level. And the stone walls that I often refer to as primitive, and I've got some criticism as far as that is concerned. If you look up Budcat 7 in a search, you'll find people like Budcat 7 says they're primitive. Well, I'm sort of saying that they're primitive from an artistic aspect. And that was something that Jimmy, the Paleo Mountain Man, which the late Jimmy, the Paleo Mountain Man, my research partner, was a fellow who turned me on to the fact that the stone walls had a lot more going on in them than the average person could really discern, because as I looked at the walls at Jimmy's property there, he invited me up there and I came to visit him, and I was so happy to come and see him. I wish I could have went and see him again. I'm so upset that I never got the chance to go back up there and see him again, before he passed. But I hope my friend Jimmy is resting in peace, because he's a lovely man and he really saw the art in the stone walls. And I guess we're not the first ones to claim that we saw art in the stone walls, but we did on our own without any knowledge of it, come to that conclusion about them. But I think my opinion is shared by Jim Vieira and Hugh Newman about the stone walls here, that the people before the Iroquois came here some 1,000 years ago were these larger people who were larger in stature. But let's just go back. I just want to get this straight. Here's the lady who's the Tuscaroran native lady, and she's going to tell us where she believes and her colleagues believe in academia that the Iroquois people came from. So just listen to what she has to say in this little snippet here.
Haudenosaunee or Iroquois people have lived in the eastern woodlands in the Northeast probably for at least 1,000 years. It's thought that we migrated perhaps from the south, from Appalachia, or even from the west, from the Ohio Valley. The Iroquois Confederacy was clearly one of the most powerful political and economic entities in Eastern North America.
Okay, so you got it. All right. She hesitated there slightly before she mentioned that, because this is a very hot matter of conjecture among academia. Because what are we saying here? Okay, so if they came from the Ohio Valley, all right, that would be where these things are found. in Paint Creek in the Ohio Valley, these earthworks, okay, and these are associated with the Adena and Hopewell, and the archaeologists and anthropologists at the University at Indiana have determined, okay, this is contemporary archaeology, that the Adena and the Hopewell were contemporaries living together in this sort of dynamic where these larger people who look something like this, okay, as compared to normal sized people, average sized people of today, okay, they lived in this society together, okay, and people like Jim Vieira and Hugh Newman share this notion that these rather large people here in the Northeast were the people who are here before the Iroquois got here. And I've gone over on my previous channel, Stonewall Research Channel, the videos about the good giants that were of what was claimed by the Algonquin peoples. These were the peoples who were living adjacent to them, these rather large people, and all of their stories are about the good giants that you never heard of, because all you've ever heard of is a propaganda story about the bad giants, all bad giants, okay? But here are the good giants living adjacent to the Algonquin peoples, okay? So this is where the Ohio Valley, this is the kind of constructions involved. This was the trading area for the Hopewell interaction sphere. Okay, and I've gone over who the Algonquin people are on my Stonewall Research Channel. That it's highly likely, based on what this lady has said and what occurred prior to some 1,000 years ago, okay, that there's some sort of internecine conflict going on. You're talking about a civilization with probably city-states and a whole lot of commerce going on, a whole lot of rich people, probably the ruling class, the giant class, and the people who rebelled against that. You know, you're going to have these political struggles going on in a society as great as this. Consider all of these different Hopewell people as city-states and the trading that was going on. Okay, at some later date we'll go over these areas here, because I know precisely how these things were designed. And these things are huge, 27 acres, come on now. It's absolutely gigantic. The level of trade that was going on was just like unbelievable. But okay, so if there were peoples living in New York State, and I've gone over this on my other channel as well, about how the head archaeologist of New York State did a number of archaeological digs in which he found oversized tools and weapons, okay? If you consider a harpoon a weapon, it's more like a hunting tool rather than a weapon. Of course, it's a weapon for whatever animal that you're spearing with it, I guess. But they found these oversized weapons and harpoons, but it's interesting, inland somewhat, harpoons, okay? I don't want to get under the underwater panther just yet. We'll do that at some later date. But what are they harpooning there with giant harpoons that the average sized person couldn't ever handle? All right, and Richie reported these digs where he found these implements in these burials, but no skeletons, because the Northeast apparently, and like many places in North America, we've gone over it on the Stonewall Research Channel here. You can find a playlist in here about the accounts of the giants. All right, and here I have giants state by state, okay, and the accounts of the giants and how when they were dug up, they disintegrated instantly into dust. So that's not why there's a good record of the giant skeletal remains from North America, A, and B, the Smithsonian was busy buying them up every time they could possibly do it. So, and you have the whole Cardiff giant fraud, which is a hoax, yes, but for a reason, to sort of discredit any notion of giant humanoids living in the past. But unfortunately, they have to admit it because the archaeological evidence is there. And these are who these people are, just as simple as that. There's no denying it, but that would be very unusual since we should be getting bigger, not smaller, from peoples from the past, humanoids or human beings. But these people weren't human beings. They had vaulted cranials and obviously different kind of DNA. So, who are these peoples that the obviously displaced? If they moved up to the northeastern area of North America here, which also includes Canada, the Iroquois, areas that they occupied, it has nothing to do with borders we know of or invented, but they occupied these areas. Well, who were in these areas? Well, here they are. Here's who is in these areas. The stone giants. Okay, well, after 1,000 years, what do you think the story is going to be about the stone giants? This mythology, whatever grain of truth it has in it, well, you have to try to decipher that and discern that. And it's obvious to me that these people were not stone giants or stone coats, although they may have wore some kind of armor made of stone. Why not? Certainly any kind of hard stone is like granite, for example, is as hard as steel. Probably fractures quite easily, but I'm sure you can find certain kinds of granite that are extremely hard, or even andesite, etc. So, in any case, they were not stone giants. It's the story that went around after 1,000 years, okay? But they were the people who built the stone walls, okay? So, let me just go over the stone walls in New Hampshire here, because this is what's been mapped so far on LiDAR, okay? So far, 168,376, okay? Despite Michael Tellinger's claim that South Africa is the largest area of stone-made man constructions on the planet, well, I beg to differ with him, and I did on Coast to Coast, which George Norrie freaked out about, because I ambushed him there because I wanted to dispel this notion, which is a lie. It's a lie. Northeastern North America is the biggest area of ancient man-made stones prior to 1,000 years ago. Okay? And as I said, who occupied these areas? The stone giants. Well, the stone giants, okay, weren't stone and didn't probably have the kind of stone armor that's depicted in these cockamamie drawings here, but perhaps had stone armor, of some sort, but, a little bit more sophisticated, I would assume, because we saw, and I saw on my old channel from Indiana, one of these giant Adena type people wearing copper armor, dug up with a photograph. This was in the 20th century. I show it on my channel there, okay? What was this guy about with the copper armor? He had a copper helmet. It was unbelievable. So, and again, I get some criticism about calling the walls primitive, okay? Let's see some primitive art at Sotheby's here, okay? Would you like to take a look at some of it? Okay, this is the point of view that I'm taking it from. Here's some primitive art from Africa. $6,000 US, okay? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Look at these pieces here, these beautiful pieces, these stylized pieces from Africa, etc. They're incredible, amazing. Here's a Dogon mask you can get for $3,000. That's the start of the bidding price, although it could go a lot higher. And I'm just saying, I got criticized for calling the walls primitive, but here's some primitive art. Understand what I mean by it. We're talking about art in the stone walls. We're not talking about that they're primitive, and they seem to be. And according to Kevin Gardner, okay, who wrote The Granite Kiss, which I read, all right, the average stone in the ancient stone walls, or the ones he believes are built by he says he doesn't want to get into it because maybe he doesn't know what he believes, but I read his book there, and it's very complicated, the building of the stone walls. It's almost like a form of polygonal stone building, wall building. But polygonal stone masonry. It's almost like a type of polygonal stone masonry because you have to get the stones to fit each other just so, by sort of putting, fitting sides together. You see what I'm saying? So, in any case, Kevin Gardner says that the average stones in the older stone walls, okay, weigh something between 65 and 75 pounds. Well, that's a very heavy weight, and especially because in the 1800s, the peoples from Germany, Britain, and Norway, etc., were something like 5'3" to 5'5". Okay, even if they were super powerful or whatever, not talking about superpower here. I'm talking about Andre the Giant or something like that. We're talking about little PB people here, so. I challenged them in one of the most popular videos on the stone walls on my Stonewall Research channel, that I would challenge the authors of some of these cockamamie books on the stone walls. It's very extremely romanticized, sappy, saccharine type books on the stone walls, and Robert Frost poetry and all this kind of stuff. But there's no official documentation, and even if there is, so what? Some colonists and settlers did build stone walls. I don't say that they didn't. See, but this is often the response that you get immediately from people. It's like, you say that, who built them then? Aliens? That's another response that I get. These are the ridiculous responses I get from them because they don't want to think things out. Okay? And if you see some of the videos on the stone walls on my channel, all right, you're going to see, that the stone walls run through like ponds and areas of water that have been there for hundreds of years, who are mapped that way and everything. Well, why would people be putting stone walls through ponds and stuff like that? First of all, and I also read this book, which I have right now, the Forgotten Art of Building a Stone Wall, okay, by this fellow. I have it somewhere around here. Where the heck do I have it? Let's see. It's Curtis P. Fields. This fellow, sometime in the 1930s or something like that, tore apart one of these native stone walls. It's just, why do that, man? Just, he wrecked some native, some stone wall construction there to rebuild them. But anyway, in his book, and I'll go over it sometime, he says about the dangers of building stone walls. There's like a dozen different sort of precautions that he gives in this book here, okay, based on his own constructions of it, where you could get severely hurt. And he did. He got hurt himself. Okay, so you're going to have your kids out there building stone walls, okay? If you, God forbid, you wedge your fingers and, jammed your fingers in there, you forget about farming or doing anything else. Why would you do such a thing? You have a vast forest. The Northeast is still an incredible vast forest of hardwoods, white oak, red oak, and it's just funny. I was thinking about it recently. It was an oak at Mallory. I wish I would have got a video of it. That was like incredible. It was like a 500-year-old oak. It was 30-foot round trunk. It was unbelievable in this stone wall area that was a rather large area for the area I was looking at Mallory in northwestern Connecticut, up in the Green Mountains there. And the oak was just like amazing. I got to get back there one day to try to get a video. It's this incredible oak. They must have been worshiping it in later times, I imagine. But the Iroquois were latecomers to the area because there was some sort of internecine political movement going on within these city-states. You can only imagine, with these people getting rich from trade, etc., okay? And the people who the Iroquois displaced, it's very simple, were these stone giants, but they weren't stone giants because they were made of stone, or they even had stone armor. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, okay? But they built the stone walls. It's really simple. The answer is right in your face. All right? It's the stone giants. It's not that they were made of stone or had stone coats or whatever it is. It's that they built with stone, like we found out from many of the accounts of the giants here in the Americas and in Europe and elsewhere in the world. These giant skeletal remains were frequently dug up in gravel pits, in sand pits, in quarries, etc. Places where building materials that would be used in the constructions of these megalithic buildings, etc., they were found in these building materials. That's what gravel is. That's what sand is. It's a basic building material in stone masonry. Okay? The giants were experts at this. Okay? That's what they were known for. That's what you hired them for. Maybe your people were experts at making wine, or cheese, or cloth, or fabric, or wood items, or metal items, or weapons, or whatever it is, or the stone giants and the giants in general. That's what their forte was, you see? And in later times, up to more modern times or whatever, this is what they did for a price. Okay? Who built the pyramids, all right? People of giant stature for a price. That's why I say, well, the giants couldn't fit through the entrances and opening tunnels in the pyramids. And that's right, they couldn't fit into those openings. But let's say they even were giants who built them. They most likely were shelters for their children against what was coming into them from the heavens. All sorts of catastrophes and cataclysms. Okay, I often say these root cellars that they find here in the Northeast, which are primitive stone structures, okay, tribal, I'll get more politically correct, tribal stone structures, and not root cellars built by colonists or settlers, but fallout shelters for the children of these giants, who would certainly be small enough or average size to get into these places. That's many of the mistakes that anthropologists and archaeologists get when they dig up a skeleton. This skeleton was 6 foot, but there's something strange about the skeleton remains. It shows like youth, yeah, you're digging up the children of the giant humanoids and mistaking them for adults, and they're not. You see, and that's one of the reasons why there had to be a giant genocide against these people. Imagine a 6'5" kid at the bus stop with your kid, and they get into a fight. What's going to happen next with your average sized kid? 12-year-old, 13-year-old. The 13-year-old's already 6 foot tall. All right, he's going to beat on your kid or whatever. Okay, why did we have to get rid of the giants? Okay, think about it. All right, but kids, they're going to get together, okay? Hey, kid, what are you doing? Oh, I'm the giant kid and the average-sized kid. Hey, buddy, what's up? There probably was an internal conflict. I go over this on my Stonewall Research channel. The Hopewell, the Iroquois are the Hopewell. They were displaced. The Cherokee, who are Iroquois-speaking people, occupy all the areas outside of the Northeast. Okay, the Cherokee occupied many of these areas that are shown here as Hopewell areas in the ancient past. And the Cherokee language is an Iroquoian language. Okay, so there was this schism in this giant city-state. Think about, ancient Greece in a similar fashion, all right, okay? And they were trading in these areas, okay? Which I'll go over at a later date, too. I know exactly what all these areas are, precisely what they are. I'm an amateur archaeologist, anthropologist myself, okay? So I know precisely with my training in architecture and engineering, okay, so I feel qualified to comment about these things. But the stone walls of New England are simply the way that the stone giants who lived in this giant mega city, the giant, most hugest mega city ever on the face of the planet that we know about, is right here in the Northeast. Okay, all these walls, and the majority of these walls were built by these people before the Iroquois, the stone giants who they displaced so they could occupy the territory. They were friendly with the Algonquin. You see? I go over it. These are the facts on my channel, okay? The Algonquin had no problem with the giant. They loved them. And the giants loved them back. All right? But when the Iroquois got to the Northeast over here, well, they needed a reason to get rid of them. Okay? And call them cannibals and blah, 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 blah. Well, the average Indian tribe called the other average Indian tribe cannibals too. It's just a pejorative slight on a tribe that you hate. That's all. They called everybody cannibals. Not only the them, but the giants and them as well. Anybody there, average size, too. Okay, it's just common. Common around the world with tribal peoples thousands of years ago. It's just a common pejorative against your enemy. It wasn't true. Think clearly about these things. Stop listening to the propaganda stories. It's all nonsense. These giant peoples are very sophisticated. These are the engineers, guys. Okay? Experts at working with stone. Well, in ancient times, you want to hire people to work with stone, okay? And as far as the ancient technology is concerned, imagine a society of very intelligent people and very intelligent large people who decided, you know what? We could mass produce things and make all kinds of trinkets and all kinds of stuff, but you know what? We're not going to do that because we don't care about that. Whatever kind of technology we're going to make or invent and build and everything are going to be one of a kinds, like a Duesenberg car. Okay? You make it once, that's it. It's all done. As you can imagine, like the late inventing period of the late 1800s and, hot air ballooning and, air vehicles like the Wright brothers and everything, this is the kind of thing that's going on in the ancient past with the giant peoples, except that they decided not to mass produce shit because they didn't care about that. They're just intelligent, or if not more intelligent, more sophisticated technology, laboratories, all this kind of stuff, but they didn't mass produce stuff. If they did, it was just for the sort of utilitarian immediate use. That's what you have to think about. Similar to the Warriors of Plasm comic that I showed on my old channel there. Okay? Technology possibly made sort of biotechnology, machine type biotechnology, which is, what I believe the UFOs are. Possibly. So, in any case, guys, it's a no-brainer, all right? They telling you exactly who the peoples who built all the stone walls in the Northeast are. They're the stone giants, okay? Not because they're made of stone or their coats are of stone. Maybe they wore stone armor, maybe, I don't know. But they worked with stone. They built the stone walls, okay? The colonists and settlers built some stuff, a small percentage of it, and the rest of it were built by the stone giants, who were just giant humanoid people like the Adena, who were using the stone walls in a different way as the trading areas that you see at the Paint Creek earthworks, okay? Not a lot of stone out there to work with, not like the Northeast where every inch of soil there is stone, okay, because of whatever ancient cataclysms happened over here, not because of an ice age, all right? The stone wall mega city over there was a giant trading center, and through there ran all the copper from Michigan. Why would these trails from thousands of years ago that go all the way to the Northeast, if these people were unfriendly with each other, the stone giants there, the story is that the Iroquois had to get rid of the stone giants because they've taken the area there, okay? The Cherokee, who were some sort of aspect of the Hopewell tribes of ancient time under the guidance of the Adena, these giant humanoid people with vaulted craniums that are not human, okay? Not human beings, okay? Well, we all have DNA from all these different humanoids of the past. Hence, ectomorph, endomorph, and mesomorph. And why are we like that? Ever see a school of fish? They're all like the same size. There's a flock of birds, all the same size. It's not a really big one and a little small one, okay? Why are we not? All animals are roughly like that. All animal species. Why are we not? Okay, so we're We're a hybrid of humanoids, all of us. We are. We got DNA from the giants and all kinds of weird humanoids of the past. Okay, the Frisian people in North Holland and Germany have their own skeletal structure that's different than ours. Okay, very unusual. Okay, the friendliest people in Norway or Scandinavia there in northern Germany, the friendliest people. Yeah, they were cannibals, the friendliest people. So in any case, the stone wall's there, and here's the stone wall map for New Hampshire here. All these pink areas of stone walls. If you go out from these areas, it gets even more convoluted. You can see by some of these constructions here, like one wall that you see like this is a snake wall. It's probably the serpent effigy. Okay, many of these snaking and curved walls and stuff are probably the ceremonial areas, and the rest of the areas for utilitarian use and habitation areas. Okay, because they had this complex thing going on. And out of Michigan there with all these trails and everything, where 500 million pounds found its ways to Long Island, where these artificial harbors of 2,000 feet and 3,000 feet were receiving ships of some kind and exporting millions of pounds of copper. Okay? So this is who they are, people. This is who I believe they are. And I'm sure if I could persuade Jim Vieira and Hugh Newman of this, okay, just based on the evidence alone, okay, the Algonquin loved them, the Iroquois hated them, okay, so they're going to take on this negative aspect. All right, sure, any people you're going to displace, well, that's your enemy right there, and I'm sure they resisted. You know, the stone giants, whoever they are, the peoples who occupied these lands, the people with the oversized harpoons and knives that Richie dug up here in New York State, that the skeletons all disintegrated into dust and couldn't be viewed. And even if there was one, the Smithsonian bought it and, oops, it disappeared. Don't know where it went. Despite the fact that the Bureau of Ethnology recorded any find of oversized skeletons that didn't make any sense, with perfect teeth for some strange reason. Think of all the dental hygiene we have today. Do you have perfect teeth? They did. Alright guys, so anyway, I'd like to end this now because I'm getting a little tired. I'm exhausted from the 80 hours of work that I do at work here at this major convenience store chain that you know well. And that's who I believe the people who built the stone walls are. It's these stone giants that the Iroquois reported about when they got here to displace them 1,000 years ago. All right? And of course they were hostile. You know, wouldn't you be if your lands were being encroached upon by some foreign tribe that came from somewhere else? But the Iroquois were the Hopewell couldn't stay there anymore. So the divisions of sects of the Hopewell that were probably friendly to the Adena, because they received their structure of their society from the quote-unquote the great peacemaker, who was the big man, quote unquote. Well, not a big man figuratively, a big man actually. Okay, one of the Adena, I'm sure. The giant peoples of the past were very sophisticated. They weren't cannibals. Okay, they're extremely intelligent. I'm sure they loved their children and felt compassion and were friendly, because all the giants we know about, even the giants today, like even Andre the Giant, right? Super friendly, nice people. Okay, how they ruled people, I don't know. Maybe they made some bad political decisions. I have no idea. Most likely that's true. And jealousies and, the wealth of the ruling class and the poverty of the average class. Who knows? But We know these dynamics continued into modern times because we had the same dynamics going on between the Watusi people and the people they rule over, who are all of average size. Well, the Watusi people are like 7 foot and better. All of them, including the women. The average kid is like 12 years old. It's like already like, 5 foot, 10 inches tall. So this dynamic situation continued today. The giants never truly all died out. Some of them managed to survive. The Watusi were some of them, and the chiefs of the Fiji Islands, and the Frisian people along the coast of Holland and Germany there. Okay? We killed the rest of them because we felt we had to for some reason. We couldn't live alongside these people, okay? And as their numbers dwindled and their health deteriorated, because they weren't designed for the gravity that we have today, which is a different subject. We can talk about it a different time, but I'm sure this is what went on. You had some sort of political schism that went on in this sort of city-state giant area of trading and wealthy upper class and ruling class, etc., and the political waves and changes going on in society would ended up, and perhaps even natural cataclysm to top it all off, a change also in the health of these giant peoples for one reason, because of the cataclysm events. I don't know, but this is what I think happened. Certainly by mainstream's estimate, there was all these cataclysms going on at those time periods where these people existed. So in any case, guys, without getting too more lengthy a video, I just want to impart to you the possibility that it was the stone giants that the Iroquois knew of, okay? Who would know about things happening in these areas 1,000 years ago? Well, the Iroquois' histories and the Algonquin histories, okay, who was much older native peoples in the East Coast, okay, and they're friendly giants, all of them being friendly, all right, and helpful and kind to them, okay? Well, we know the reason why the Iroquois were hostile with them, because they were pushing them out of their territories, warring with them, eliminating them so they could take over their lands. All right? So it's very simple who they were giant peoples living in those areas. Well, instead of having earthworks, because that was hard to do in the Northeast here, okay, they built the stone wall areas to accommodate this very heavy level of trade. And as according to Charles C. Mann, his book, 1491, Revelations in the Americas Before the Arrival of Columbus, the numbers of native peoples living here in the Americas was in the millions. Not in these paltry numbers that the settlers and colonists come about, 100 years later, when 95% of them had died off through disease and violence. Okay, so, guys, this is who I say are the ones. It's just right in your face. The Iroquois are giving you the answer to the question right here. The peoples before them, and that's who, when they were questioned by the settlers and colonists and explorers and everything, they said that different peoples who were there before them built them. They didn't know exactly who they were. They knew that the stone giants were here from their legends and everything, but if the peoples who were there were stone giants before them or whatever, they're the peoples who built the stone walls and stone structures in the Northeast, effigies and cairns and everything else. So, and most likely prior to that, all the dolmen here in the Northeast too. And the same sorts of people who also knew of each other were going on in Ireland and UK and in northern Europe there, where you find the Belgica people who are just totally similar to the Adena people. And the Brighton Winter Cave just proves that the giant-sized people who are there, the Beaker people there, were living in the same dynamic with average people. The whole cave is filled with some giant bones and a bunch of average-sized people bones. Well, it's evidence of the same dynamic going on in Europe that just nobody's talking about it, but you're getting it right here on my channel, folks. Okay? Everything's related to the stone walls. This is how the giants relate to the stone walls, so it's all related topics. Okay? See the big picture from 10,000 feet, not right up close, compartmentalized, because you'll never see the big picture. All right. So anyway, guys, I'd like to end the video there. Just think about it. All right. It's the stone giants, folks. They're the builders of the stone walls. All right. The majority of them in the Northeast. All right, there's no mystery here. Okay, they were giant-sized people. They were involved in the Hopewell tradition. Okay, with the Indian trails. All right, from Michigan, going all over the place. Okay, I've gone over this on my former channel. The Indian Trails, by the way, is one of the most popular videos on my channel, with something on like almost 2,000 views, I guess, something like that. And I talk about it there. Here's the video right here. All right. It's got how many views? Hey guys. Bugcat7 here. Okay, it's Thursday, September 24th, 2020, and I want to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. Alright guys, well, I want to cover this article from the New England Historical Society, who I subscribe to. I get their newsletter, if I do say so myself. So, check that out if you're a new subscriber, or even an old subscriber who missed it. It's one of my most popular videos on my channel. I talk about it there. But just know this, folks, it's the stone giants who built the stone walls. It's not they were stone, they work with stone. That's why they call them the stone giants. They just morphed it into something else after 1,000 years. All right, so just think about it. Okay, I'm calling it right. Nobody else in the whole entire world, Megalithomania, Jim Vieira, nobody's calling it. It's right here in your face. The Iroquois are telling you who they are. They were the people who were here, who occupied the land before them. They built the structures and everything, and they were the stone giants. They were giant humanoid people. That's who can handle 65 and 75 pound stones all day long. Not us. God forbid you jam. And Jimmy, the Paleo Mountain Man, was the guy who said it to me. He said, you jam your fingers in there, placing one of these heavy stones, you're done. No farming for you. Why would you do it? You got a whole forest there. And the whole deforestation thing, as far as the ancient people are concerned, is ridiculous. That's why there was a cooperative among the Iroquois people. They knew how to do it. Alright, the peoples who lived in the mountainous areas where no good farming land is, very small pockets, is all trees. If you needed wood, you sent it over there. There's like an endless supply of it. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands and millions of acres of treed woodlands everywhere. Hardwood trees everywhere. Locust and oak and rock maple and you name it. Including nut trees and everything else. All managed by the ancient native peoples, whoever the heck they were, giant or otherwise. That's what they were experts in. Agriculture, all sorts of things, because it carried down to them over the millennia, because they were the peoples who were ruling the world in the ancient past, in the golden age. But in any case, guys, think about all the things I talk about here. It's all related to other things on my channel, my other channel, but we're going to talk about here as well. And I've identified who the people are who built the stone walls. It's the stone giants who the Iroquois displaced. Simple as that. It's right in your face. The answer's right there. You gotta go looking and searching and imagining anything. All right? It's just right in your face. Knowledge. All right? So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do hit the like button. Spread it around. Get some other people you know to take a look at this video, because I only have 17 subscribers. I appreciate it very much, but I think I need some more. Anyway, guys, Bugcat7 signing out. Peace.